Saturday, August 20th, 2022. Coming to Hartford, Michigan at the Van Buren Poorhouse Museum, it's Ghost-O-Rama. Ghost-O-Rama is a one-of-a-kind event. It's a paranormal meet and greet / flea market / Comic-Con, car show, and much, much more. There'll be paranormal groups, the Ghostbusters, the Mystery Machine, spooky vendors, live band, ghost tour, Jurassic Park, killer cars, food truck, disc jockey, historical museum, kid haunted house, and much more. Van Buren County Historical Museum. That's right, out at 58471 Red Arrow Highway, Hartford, Michigan, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's an outdoor market, which is free to the public. That's right, you heard me. It's open to the public. There'll be a museum tour, $5 per person. Also, from 9 to 11, a ghost tour, $20 per person. That's right, Ghost-O-Rama is hitting West Michigan, Saturday, August 20th, 2022, at the Hartford Van Buren Poorhouse Museum. This is sponsored by Southern Michigan Paranormal's UnrestrictedRadio.com, the Great Lakes Ghostbuster Coalition, How to Halloween, Frankenfest, and the Midwest Parahistorical Society.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Ghost to Ghost PM for April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. As you can see, right over here beside me, we have got Devilish himself. Yeah, look real close. They're there. I promise you, they're there.
I thought I saw something hairy walk by, so that's why I got a little close.
Well, you know how them sock crotches are. I mean, they just pop up anywhere. I mean, I wanted to bring Dev on, guys, because he is very, very knowledgeable with some of the stories and the legends of the big furry guy himself. And y'all know that's how I started this week, was with a video on Native American beliefs behind Bigfoot. And I wanted to bring him on and just let him share his compendium of information with us. So, brother, you want to start this off telling them a little bit about yourself? I mean, everybody gets to see your name up here in the chat, but hardly anybody ever gets to see your face.
Well, you know, that's kind of a personal choice. It's not anything, you know, negative or anything, you know, to say that I don't want to be known. I mean, okay, mother's face to love. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. I've hid behind my name and my icon for a long time, and you know, most people didn't get to know me unless they came to something live for a meet and type greet, regardless of what it was. I wasn't always known as Devilish. I was known by other names before, and just some things that I've done online that people say, "Oh, you know, you act a little devilish. The way you're naughty, the way you do this, the way you do that, the way you say this, the way you say that." And I kind of thought, it's like, well, my character or role-playing character, and we've all done it since we were kids, playing around with our toys, that I had this character sitting here somewhere in this brain somewhere. Maybe it's not in the brain anymore. Maybe it's elsewhere in my body. Who knows? Anyways, bring the character forefront and be fully the name, and I took it on. And Devilish is just a little shorter the name because it used to be Devilish_1 for Devilish 1. And I just grew it from there. I can be, you know, from anywhere in, you know, my charismatic persona or characters from A to Z, and be any emotion from that as I'm being devilish. And basically I consider the name to be the devil, but that's in my character role playing. Sometimes when people ask me questions, they go, "Hey Dev, you know, I got a question for you." I can go, who do you want to answer? You want Dev, you want Devilish, or you want me, the creator behind him? Because there's a difference. Because, you know, you get one, it's like, yeah, you know, if you want to be sarcastic, he's going to come back to you. being sarcastic. Maybe even double than what you gave to me, right? As the character. So, it's all over the place. But, going a little bit more, living, and I say it this way because it's more what I want to give, and what true information I want to give is really nobody's business but mine. That's kind of my general thought attitude. But things change over the years. We do different things, and we step out of sometimes our little shyness, our little walls, our little barriers, and have to be out there. It's like, you're going to go exploring and all this, and everybody's doing all this paranormal and exploring and urbex and whatever. So you're going to be somewhere at some point on camera. It's taken me longer for the camera thing than it has actually speaking, being on a mic, because, going different backgrounds, different things that I've done. I've been on radio. I did commercials. I've done voiceovers. I went to the big city of Toronto, went to one of the major television networks known as City TV, and did voiceover training with one of the big time people there known as Bob Cook. There's also Mark Chamberlain, who was the original voice for the Weather Network. I've even did a commercial that I got paid for with the voice of Sex TV, the female who first started that, as the voice for it. Okay, and I got paid $30,000 for a 30-second commercial for Timberland. Then you have the paranormal, the walk with me through the cemeteries. That most of them usually I'll do daytime. There's a few I'm going to do nighttime, and the only reason is because here they close the gates and they say if you go in after hours, you're trespassing, and they'll charge you. There's no way around. There's no way around it because they have posted hours. They have gates, so you're in there. If you want to be, you got to get permission. Make sure that everybody who's involved around it, they know that you're going to be there. What's going on? Otherwise, forget it. You just can't do it. And I'll stop for a second and say hello to everybody out there that's down in the chat. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just giving you a little bit of story.
Yeah, we actually have several of them here. Some of them here have posted hours.
Yeah,
and most of your large city cemeteries have got posted hours, but your small little rural country cemeteries, a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't even have gates. Of course, we always go that extra mile and contact local and county law enforcement and say, hey, we're doing this and doing this. You drive by. Tommy and Mark are actually getting ready to do one here in a couple weeks in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And Tommy sent us a video the other day of it. And it's a real small cemetery. It's just got a small horseshoe drive in it. And it might take you 5 minutes to do the horseshoe. And he was pulling back out on the street and so he told us, he goes, do we want to do this or not? And Mark's like, well, I'll call the police. And the police said, well, if you do it during the daytime, and please at least one of you be armed.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. So because it's so small, I'm just letting them do it.
Yeah.
Besides, I'm going to look awful funny carrying Grumpy through a cemetery. So, so what got you involved in the Bigfoot thing?
Well, first you got to look at the few little things of paranormal that's gone on.
Okay.
And learning a little bit about it. Like family kind of, we don't talk about this stuff. It's like, if you talk about this stuff, they're going to send you to the insane asylum because they think you're nuts. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, okay, you're a kid, you see whatever, but grown-ups don't see it. But to get into it, with the paranormal, it's like you notice different things. You start learning. You start being curious. Like all this fantasy about paranormal, seeing the different movies that you have, it gets you into it. And then hearing the different stories, going back into the 70s as a kid, and you're hearing about something that's out there in the woods that can't be explained, that they say is taller than a regular man, hides very well, that you may hear it occasional grunts, growls, howls later at night. You may hear different bangs that are not normal for in a forest or wooded type area to have that bang. And then, people saying, oh, well, footprints. They've taken pictures, but all the pictures have been blurry. It's like, well, wait a second. All the cameras I know that most people have, how are they blurry? So that general interest, and you're always curious, of the unknown. Is like, okay, there's this type of ape type creature that's possibly man-like. And then to add in going back from the 70s, also you have TV shows like The $1 Million Man, Steve Austin, where they've had Bigfoot in it and there was Bigfoot toys. So, that kind of got pushed into me as a child. So here you are with a bionic man who's going after Bigfoot in the forest for something that happened, and you got toys now. Then we'll take a little bit of, side turn here. Looking at part of my national heritage that I say I'm a Heinz 57, but we won't go over all of them today. But I have Native American Indian in me, and it's from the East Coast over by Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and some of you know is Micmac. Yeah, people make fun of it. They're thinking, oh, Big Mac. No, not like McDonald's by any means. And then, revisiting your heritage and learning and getting around with the tribe members, learning the powwows, learning all the history of all the ancient stuff that they know, the wise men, everybody, the elders, and telling you different stories that maybe Bigfoot could be a skinwalker. So it kind of, grew from there. It's like always been curious, like who isn't? It's like, is it real or is it just a story? Well, many believe that it's both. So that's just, in a nutshell. Yes, I've already heard a few cut-ins and outs there, Drew. So
yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Green.
I know it's windy here, so.
Yep, and we've had snow again today. We've had wind today, so yeah, I mean we're probably going to cut in and out like crazy, but that's something. That's just part of it.
Yeah, we'll deal with it as we go along, folks.
Oh yeah. Oops. There we go. Now I got everything back to where it was. So I don't know if they missed half of what you said, but I know I did. I mean, I think we got as far as the putting you in an insane asylum, keep it hush hush, and then it was pretty much spinny,
Yeah.
lose our pretty faces, spinny.
No, I was just kind of talking about the native heritage for a Micmac that is through my blood, and the different lore stories that have been told by them, and with also the possibility that Bigfoot / Sasquatch, skunk ape, whatever name you want to give them, could be a skinwalker as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear stories of different noises, things, this and that that's been told to you. And I mean, on the reserves, they tell stories that they get some of the, elders that are still alive, they will dress up in a form of what they think they know Bigfoot to look like. And I'm not just talking about, the stories that you've already put out from BC, from British Columbia in Canada, but from other parts that have massed wooded land areas, even like where I live in the province of Ontario, going further north, the tribes up there, they do stories and dress up what they think Sasquatch Bigfoot looks like, and tell the story, around a fire later at night, for the children before they go to bed. Whether it's really a story to scare the children to wander out in the woods or not, that's up to each individual to believe what they think. But over the years, being curious and learning these things, and plus, having toys like the $6 Million Man, I'll say again, and the Bigfoot that was in it. I had them, right, as a kid.
Wow.
And so, that was the first injection of, something of Bigfoot suggested, and going from there.
So, being in the location that you're in, do you get the chance to go out and do your own hunts, investigations, whatever you want to call them, for Sasquatch? Or?
Not in the general vicinity where I am, because it's pretty much a big city. It's not a metropolis or anything, but it is a big city. I forget the numbers here. But I'm like 45 minutes out of the city of Toronto. So, we're a smaller city, but we're part of the big conglomerate of amalgamation that they've had, which they call the Greater Toronto Area. But I would have to go 3 to 4 hours north to the native Indian reserves to, get something, where a lot of the wooded area is more kind of like protected, and not a lot of general locals can go through, or not anybody can just go there, because the natives are there. They're protecting the forest. And it's like, you get into a certain part too close into the reserves up there, they'll let you know. Sometimes you'll hear a shotgun go off, and it's like, okay, was that directed at me? I guess I better get my ass out of here.
So, but you have gone out on your own searches, and maybe followed other people's hunts, or they have found footprints or something like that. And
I went one time with and it's not my own creed or tribe of natives, but another that's up, further north, on a walk, and just show things, say, look, here's where, we see the path that they travel. Here's some different trees that are knocked over that isn't by weather, like the way they're broken, the way they're stacked. Little things like, okay, this isn't the way somebody would normally do it. So, and then, with the different evidence, the few saying, okay, we got hair, we got some other samples, scat even, that they've, taken, had it investigated, and said, well, it's not human. It's not 100% possible ape-like, but we have no clue. So what is it? So, they've taken me on, some trails, this and that, where they know animals are, which animals are in there, and say, okay, well, yeah, that's a track of a bear. That's a track of a wolf. This is a track of a coyote. That's a track of a deer. This is a track of, the raccoons, the skunks, whatever other critters that are running through, where it's a little muddy sometimes, and wherever there's paw prints that can be left. And how to do a little bit of animal tracking at the same time, because they still hunt animals up there, whether they use a bow and arrow, or whether they want to use a 22 gauge shotgun, or, a 22 rifle to hunt with or without scopes. So they still do it, and they do different things. It's just what they're willing to share, and how close you are, whether or not you really do have any native blood in you. So, going on these, I've gone on a couple, but not on my own personally. I've just done other things.
So the hunting and stuff wasn't actually your main focus, but it just kind of slid in there along with the other things you were doing.
Yeah, because you notice something that's happening, or you hear an unusual noise, around you while you're out in the wooded area. It's like, okay, well, what the hell did I just hear? Like, why is this laid out like this way? It's not anything that's known. Like, being 4 or 5 hours up, we used to have a cottage, and walking around just in the brush that was around the cottage, you would notice different, smaller plants laid down in a certain way. It's like, you go, well, deer don't make their beds that way, and the black bear and brown bear that's around, that they'll knock things over a certain way, but you can see that type of break. You can see how
Mm-hmm.
things are broken, but some things are kind of like put together almost. I'm not going to say like a bedding, but kind of, and it's just a little unusual. Hi V.
Hey V. I know we get a lot of stories here in the States out of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing one here a few years ago, the guys that had the hunting cabin up there, that every single time they showed up to do their hunts, it looks like the cabin had been either attempted to be broken into or had been broken into and been, rummaged around in and stuff. And I guess they had a rock throwing incident one time and a limb banging incident. And I guess they left the board of screws on the front porch.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time they came back, they found the blood and tissue on those screws. And I don't remember where they took them to, but they took them to possibly one of the universities or something.
Yeah.
There in Toronto or something, and
Mm-hmm.
they came back as primate-like DNA, but still not an actual DNA for anything that would be living in that area.
Yeah.
Or anything identifiable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course, like you mentioned earlier, British Columbia, Sasquatch.1.
Yeah.
All the time. It seems like Canada would be like the Sasquatch hunting capital of the world. But like you were saying, a lot of the natives are protecting things up there. They're protecting the forest. They're protecting what's there. And that kind of makes me wonder, even with the ones that are not claiming to be traditionals anymore, they're still protecting as a traditional would protect. And it really makes me wonder if, maybe there's more to the Sasquatch stories with the natives being a shapeshifter or being a spirit or something than, I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I kind of look at it as they are protecting, and they're protecting their lands for one thing, the natives. Then their stories, what's being said, people are coming in and they're trying to debunk everything. It's like, okay, these are just stories. There's no proof, whatever. But then they'll take them out and say, well, fake. Oh, let me show you some things. And then some of these people's like, okay, well, the natives are going, well, you explain this. What animal can do this? What can leave this size print? What can throw a boulder that's the size of your head through the air at a vast speed over a great distance? Like, I don't know any human that can normally do that. I mean, you take something like a 5-pound bowling ball and chuck it through the air. How much of a straight line can you send it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who can lift? I mean, I know guys that can, but I mean, normal people that can lift a 40-pound tree trunk and place it 5 to 10 feet up in the air in such a way that is not tied, that didn't fall down because weather knocked it down. So, who did it? Now, some of the natives that are not, kind of being a little bit more, I don't know, we could say mainstream than being regular heritage, being on the reserves, being full pride. I'm not trying to say anything. So if anybody's out there, you're thinking that, I'm trying to stir a pot with the native. No, I am part native, but that's not my point. It's just there are things that are being said that's being protected because this is their, and I'm going to say the word, I hate using this word for it, their religion. Okay. So, even going with, the Wendigo, going with a few other spirits that they believe that are out there, whether it's demonic or not, for what type of protection. Is it to protect the native lands themselves? Is it to protect their burial grounds for the spirits? So that way, what they believe where the spirits go in the afterlife, as they say, the elder spirits are there. And, within the woods, is that what this Bigfoot is? Is that what even, we can say Wendigo too, considering that some people think they're kind of interchangeable. Is that what they're doing? Are they protecting the spirits so the spirits can walk around, be with their loved ones, protect them, warn them, or to protect an area because this is where they're lingering? Is it that's their form of heaven?
Hmm. So, since you brought up the Wendigo, I've got Native in me too. I am Twin River Mohawk.
Okay.
And just about that much of me now, after about 150 years of English and French and German and Scottish. But enough of me that I have a lot of respect for that part of my family. And, I try to find as many native originated videos or native based videos, traditional subjects. I done the Bigfoot one on Monday. I done spirit beings of Cherokee yesterday. Tomorrow I'm actually releasing one on the Stick Indians.
Okay.
Now I know, being in the area you're in, you've heard those stories before of the Stick Indians.
It comes a little bit also, I think, I call them the Massasaugas. I could be wrong on the full tribe name. They come from another tribe, and I forget what they were right offhand. It's escaping me off the top of my head at the moment. But there's different things that were kind of said, and you get a little bit, because sometimes some things, you're not full native. They don't want to tell you.
Exactly.
Because they don't know what you're doing with the information, and they don't want like a whole bunch of people all of a sudden just to barge on their lands and start investigating and start, causing whatever havoc. And, for their beliefs that whatever it may be, all of a sudden disturbs and, starts changing and start hurting the people that are within, the tribe area in which they, mostly live in with their families, their kids, their elders that are with them. And, they just want to keep, their own little piece. But, so it's kind of, I've heard some things, but not a lot. So it's kind of like, okay, I've heard, and then they all of a sudden it's like they just kind of ended the conversation. They just stop it, and that's it. They didn't talk anymore about it. It's like, okay, move on to something else, without actually saying it. You know what I mean? But
yeah. And that's actually one thing that I cover in the video. There's a story, there's a live account of an interaction that a husband and wife had with Stick Indians at one time, and he works with natives, and had brought it up around the water cooler one day at work, and one of them actually said, "Don't ever talk about this around our people. They don't like talking about it. They don't want to hear about it. It's disrespectful to talk about it. You just don't want to." Just let it go. It happened. You survived it. Just don't.
Yeah.
Don't. and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this. It's like, damn, seriously? Wow. So have you had a chance to go out? Let me phrase it this way. What type of investigations do you do up there besides the cemeteries and stuff?
No, I've done in the past. Back then I didn't think, to record anything, to anything to maybe show evidence or whatever. Because I've been into many different abandoned places, and it was more to just urbex, just to explore it, just to see, okay, what did you what we see is like, yeah, okay, it's worn down, it's torn down, weather has gotten to it, but to go into it and actually see how the old structures were done, was kind of a little bit of just a general interest. It's like, okay, you can see into the walls, you can see past the knob and tube wiring, you can see past the old plaster and little strips of wood that made up the walls over the big 2x4s or 4x4s, all the timber. And it's like, that was interesting. But then it's like all of a sudden it's like you're in there and you're going, well, what did I just hear? It's like, wait a second, is there anybody else here? Like, are you trying to prank me? It's like, and whoever else, it's like, no, you sure there's nobody outside or something? It's like, no. Why? What did you hear? So, I swore I heard a girl laughing. So that, and then sometimes, you see things and you go, well, there's a lot of windows that are broken, so maybe it was just the wind pushing it. You shrug it off. You didn't think about it because you're just going to explore these buildings and you're just looking at it. There's windows broken. You can see sometimes the old ratty curtains blowing around, or some part of the building that's loose, and it just that little bit of rattle, and you can hear the wind and you're going, it's just the wind blowing through. Don't worry about it. And then later you're thinking about it. It's like, oh, I don't know about that. Let's go back to this place again and just sit and listen. What creaks do we hear? Like, I mean, living in this house, it's not my house, I rent, but to sit here and just listen to the creaks of this house, because this house has been here for about 100 years, if not more. But to hear like the different creaks when somebody walks across the floor above you, you get used to the sound. And then when you're hearing it and nobody's awake, you start to wonder, it's like, wait a second, what was that? Because the steps don't sound human. So that kind of got me, to it, and that brought, more to, as we're talking about with Bigfoot, Sasquatch, skunk ape, grassy man, whatever you want to call him.
What is the most frequently used name up there?
Both are used, Sasquatch and Bigfoot. It just depends, I guess, location and what your background, what you're brought up with.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's another name, and I'm not even going to remember how to pronounce it. And I was trying to pronounce it the other day on my show and was talking about it.
Like, you're talking about the native?
Yeah, it's the actual native name.
Yeah.
And it's how
there's like 300 of them.
It's like a 23-letter word almost for the male, and then the females is shortened down a little bit, so they have a word for the male and then for the female.
Oh wow!
So
wow,
yeah.
And it's really amazing that you're talking about a creature, an entity, a being, a spirit, whatever it is, that almost every native tribe throughout America, North America, and Canada have either got a story about it or something. And then if you want to go even further, almost every single country in the world has got a story about something that has some kind of resemblance to this thing. 8 to 10 feet tall, covered in fur. Okay, the fur color may change. The number of toes or fingers may change. And
some of the facial features a little bit too.
It's just so hard to, I can't be as closed-minded as like my wife is and say, it's not real, it's made up. And it's like, so you're saying that, 900 million people for the last 1,500 years have been making up the same lie, even though they've never had contact with each other?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you think about it, going back to 16th century, some of the Spanish explorers and the Mexican settlers, close to California, uh, they kind of call it like dark watchers.
Mm-hmm.
That they stalk their camps at night in the regions, and then and you think about it, most of the stuff that we see and we hear is like, okay, closer to the Rocky Mountains, in the forest lands there, coming down to different gorges, this and that, but a lot of in the hills close to the mountains. But then you also got to think about, they even had stuff that they were talking about uh, even as far down into the Mississippi itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you go from northern parts of British Columbia in Canada, you come down the west coast into some of the northern part of the states, and now you're going along the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. And even over
Oh,
here east of the Mississippi, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio,
yeah.
Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them has got an oral tradition somewhere of something like this existing, or walking, or being heard, or being seen, or being drawn somewhere.
And as it pops in my head right now, I'm probably might be saying them well, but maybe you've heard the name for them a little bit better. The Tulu River Indian Reservation in California.
I've heard of the Tulu River. I'm not familiar with the reservation.
There is a reservation there in California. They have, or I don't know where they've given it to, but they've redone a site called Painted Rock. So basically, the Painted Rock was petroglyphics of painted rock, which showed some spirits, and also a creature that is to be Bigfoot Sasquatch that they painted. And showing that it is taller than everything else that's around it that's painted in this petroglyphic. So it's something to look at. Because I know that either the French or the Mexicans, they basically call them Natchez people, if I remember correctly, hairy creatures of the woods, basically, in a way. And the screams are saying that even hearing from the news that some of the screams are so loud that they make some of the livestock really get unsettled, and that some of them even steal some of their livestock to eat.
Oh wow.
So you think about, these are the stories that we saw, and then you got similar stories for just that. Now you're going over to Russia, you're going to northern parts of Germany, you're going down to even to parts of India and Afghanistan, and they're reporting something similar to all this. So yeah, it makes you think, why were these stories here? Are they to overall scare us from somebody, or is it more? I like to think it's more.
I do too. And it's a shame that you live so far away. Tommy Tombstone has been a Sasquatch fanatic since he was knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
And him and I are in discussion right now about going up to Manistee State Forest here in Michigan.
Okay.
Later in the summer, early fall, and doing an investigation / hunt together, actually going camping up there for a weekend. And during the time, probably in latter September, when the Sasquatch and the Dogmen sightings start to go up, which seems to be a yearly occurrence here. And I think being able to go to some place like that, since you've got so many obstacles there with the reserves and stuff, being able to go out and actually hunt the wilds.
Yep.
There's a lot of places in Manistee that's impossible for human footprints to go. I mean, there's rock faces, there's raging rivers, there's 100-foot rocky cliffs and things that just, I got a feeling it's going to be a really, really good expedition. And it's a shame you are so far away, because I would love to be able to include you in that.
Well, and then even to think about it, like some of the farmers that are along these routes, because we notice at this time that they seem to be moving around. It's like, okay, so is this a form of migration that they're moving from one area to another area? Uh, is it breeding time? Is it, something else that they're doing? Is it similar to, like birds, they fly south from here for the winter and go down into the States to wherever. Doesn't mean they're going to super warm places, in the southern states or not. And I mean, some birds, they're supposed to fly south, but they don't. Like, okay, we'll take, for instance, our Canadian geese. As I sometimes call them, our Canadian military. But
yeah. It's the Canadian Air Force right there, bud.
Well, yeah, the Air Force, I've actually, yeah, I did mention that when I was in St. John's Lithuanian Cemetery there, when I was on the back side of the big statue where supposedly the tombs are all locked up that you can't get into anymore. And it's like, damn, I want to get in there. There was a bunch of the geese running around there, were watching me, their heads up, and, they take their little steps. But anyways, that that they're doing this migration. But the one thing that a lot of the farm fields is what I'm hearing, and I don't know about you, what you've heard, what Tommy has heard, but I've heard though that they like to eat corn. That they'll not just the cob, they pull the whole stalk and break it off, and they break it in such a way that the roots don't come out of the ground. So the way like they're grabbing it somehow with two hands or one hand, and they're just snapping it, but the roots and whatever base of the stalk is left is sitting perfectly, like it's still standing that. So, how do you explain something like that? Like, what can break something like that easily and cleanly, which doesn't look like a blade?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. But I mean, I've heard that they do like, they do like to eat corn. I've heard, and I've been watching another guy, and I've told you about him. I'll mention here. He likes to he calls himself Monster Bait TV. He had the big YouTuber Exploring with Josh go on a nighttime hunt. They use red light, so that way, whatever creatures don't see them as easily. They do take a white light, so that way, if they hear something, they're going to investigate it. And his biggest thing is, as he goes out to investigate, and he follows some really other big people that are, following Bigfoot, Sasquatch, investigations, this and that. Because he's in the States. I forget whereabouts it is. He's got two areas, but he'll go for a certain distance. And if he hears something that sounds like it's following, he'll stop. And he does stop periodically just to listen to see if there's something following behind him. Because you're going to investigate this. And he's encountered a point where I think he said he had 3 possible Bigfoots around him. One was knocking on a tree, one was howling, and the other one was throwing stones. Not directly around him, but enough near him to hit things. And these aren't just, these little bitty stones. Like, you got to put your full hand. I put my full hand over it, and those are coming through the air, hitting, in his vicinity. He's had a couple, but he's had them where they've been around. He goes, you know what? I'm going to do this. He goes, this is really, really stupid. And he took a big piece of wood and he banged it as hard as he can against a tree, and he got a response.
Yep.
Not only a howl, but also a knockback. So the question is, if they're this intelligent to use a stick and hit it on a tree for communication, and we do know that, on the West Coast, in the States, part of California, and also up into BC, that the natives used to do that. They used to take, and even the Amazon, I think they also do it too. Some of the old native pygmy tribes and that, they would take a stick and bang it at the bottom of a tree for a sound to communicate over distances, miles and kilometers, to another tribe to let them know something's coming or we need to talk. And if they're doing this, and their type of vocalization that they use, what else are they doing that us as regular humans aren't capable of to communicate over vast distances? Because they let each other know when people are coming, and it's like, okay, hey, humans coming, let's all scatter, or let's hide and let's watch what they're doing. That's our entertainment for tonight. We're watching the show. The humans. It's our reality.
Can you see the chat?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay. Well, Terry just asked a question, and I didn't know if
general part of me would say that is possibly an old ancestor to us, and the evolution change of us changing. I don't know, some people, because of religion, they'd say, you're full of crap. That's not true. But we have so much that we've proved that we've gone back in time, say that, okay, we came from ape, but there's, so many different little nicks and knacks are missing. So it's a great possibility that,
so you kind of adhere to the Dinopithecus or the Gigantopithecus.
More so than other things. Like, I mean, I know certain things that, going through religion, really kind of talking about, because everybody has different beliefs about things, and I try to keep an open mind mostly. But I do know certain things that from the Bible have been actually proven to actually have existed and happened.
Mm-hmm.
So there's periods of time, certain things that are kind of missing, and there are things about dinosaurs that are older than when or done in anything that the Bible has said, and that includes the first 8 days. So, with an open mind, thinking about that, okay, how is that possible? So, you got to question it, and you do your own research. You try to find out what information for you, and then finding people that are more credible. So, as I spoke, about Monster Bait TV, he's gone after some of the big guys that are more credible, that have been around, heard these noises of Bigfoot, have seen some things, seen certain things that have been set up to say, hey, they're there. We might have seen them with our own eyes yet. We might have caught on a few things and we're not quite sure about. And even Monster Bait TV, he had a game camera set up out in his Area 1 woods, and behind a tree, about kind of, he kind of measuring it, so he goes 6 feet or higher. There's a set of eyes, one eyeball peeking out from behind the tree, and then kind of a second one, like almost like, I'm kind of peeking with my eye here as what you can see. But then to turn your head, like, okay, I know my camera's back, but to turn the head and have a second eye almost come out, but kind of tilted, kind of makes it a little eerie. But it's the way the eye blinked and then disappear. And when he went to where the tree was to go measure, the height was at 7 feet to 8 feet tall, if not higher, if I remember correctly. So,
wow,
how could it be a bear? And he knows that the bears that are in the area, if they stand up at their hind leg, they don't really get that. And he knows the eye glow from a bear at nighttime. And there's deer, there's other possum, this and that he shows in the game camera, whatever he captures on the card, and you can see the different type of eye glows from each different animal. And this eye glow was bright. So when you experience the infrared night light, night vision, and you get that one light that kind of gets it, and it's like really, really bright. Well, think of that as just a pupil. Okay, and it's bright and it's moving. And so far, nobody, even himself, has not been able to explain what it truly was.
Wow. Hey, Beth. So do you have any indigenous, any First Nations friends up there that you get the chance to sit down and talk about these things? I mean, without, naming names or anything like that.
In order for me, I have to name names when I go to the reserves to be able to talk with certain people because they were people that I know now. Whether or not they're still alive today, I don't know because they were older. I don't know too many of my own native people. Like, I hear certain people here and say, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm Micmac." It's like, what? Really? It's like, okay, cool. What whereabouts? Going back through your bloodline, different people here and there. Somebody had told me it's like they were from Newfoundland in Canada. I was like, really? From the island of Micmacs? I go, I didn't even know they were up that high. It's like, okay, cool. Like, and, it gives me a little bit of a buzz, like, saying, hey, I want to know more. Because there's different things that I don't know or stories that I hear. It's like, okay, who knows about this? Who knows about that? Who can I talk to that maybe they might talk to me? And then explain, okay, my native heritage and, where everything's come from down the line and, follow on my dad's side and last name that brings us there. And they go, well, yeah, that's right. You do have family. So, talking to the right people, yeah, you get information. They might not give you everything. They might give you little tidbits. And because, I'm not a full practicing native in any shape, way, or form, they kind of look at me. It's like, well, no, you're an outsider.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And that's usually the first person you talk to, and they try to ask you different things just to see whether or not they want to let you on the reserve just because you're looking for information. If you're coming there to, see a powwow or something else, they're opening up the doors to let people in, and they keep them in a certain area, and they don't want them to wander everywhere. And when you go, it's like, well, let's take you to the circle and we'll talk.
I know exactly what you mean.
Then sometimes, everything else that follows being in the circle, if you're asked questions, they are judging you, but they're also testing you at the same time with their judgment. And, hey, sometimes it's like, well, if you don't smoke this peace pipe with us, we ain't talking. If you don't do this with us, we ain't talking. You want to get some answers? Well, you're going to do a few of our rituals and see if you pass. And if you pass, then maybe we'll tell you a little bit more, or we'll tell you the stories we tell everybody else.
Yeah. Yes, Paul, I did see it. And yes, Adam, we were talking about big feetses. I know exactly what you mean, Dev. When I was going up to Chatham, Ontario to do the Battle of Thames, we did we had a fellow that played Tecumseh, and then the Northern Mohawk from up there were coming down to play Shawnee opposite David's Tecumseh. And, being the group that I'm descended from, I actually had a chance to sit down with them in their camp and drink coffee with them and talk to some of the elders, talk to some of the clan mothers. And I believe me, I sat in that circle. I drank coffee. I answered 225 questions because they wanted to see where my blood came from. They wanted to know everything about my family. They wanted to know everything before they'd answer any questions about our traditions, our language, our cultural beliefs, anything.
Here's a question to you for a second. Interject.
Okay.
Did they offer you any particular raw meat?
The only thing that was offered to me was bison jerky.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the only thing that was offered to me was coffee and bison jerky. So, guys, if you'll excuse me for a second, we are getting real close to the 1 hour mark. We all know what that means with my diabetic bladder. Dev does have a wrench here in the chat. I'm going to let him put all of his contact information in the chat. So those of you that aren't subscribed to him, I
gotta open YouTube. God damn it!
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. But I'm going to run to the potty real quick, and I'm going to let him take the lead for a minute.
You guys got to give me a little bit here, because some of you are already subbed to me for my channel for Devilish. So just give me a second, and I'll get my things here. Because I didn't have my link saved. So you have to give me a little bit. I'll give you my main one once I pop in here. Let me pop back into this. I know some of you's already got me, and if somebody puts my link down to my channel, that's fine. Go right ahead. But I'm just going through because I don't want StreamYards to do like Restream did to me a little bit earlier. Where are we here? There we are. Just let this load up, and I'll drop the main link, and then I'll type in my email address that I like everybody to contact me by, because it's easier. And you just have to tell me if you do contact me by email, you know, your name that you have in chat, so that way it's easier, so I know who you are. Because, you know, I have other people to contact me through the same thing. You lost me? Uh-oh. How'd you lose me? God damn it, what the hell? Am I cracking up? Am I disappeared? What do you mean, Beth? Upside down, Beth? What do you mean?
Upside down, Beth.
Yeah, that's what some of us say, because, you know, she has her...
Yeah, I call her that too on occasion.
That's the main one, you know. An email and the main channel.
You're apparently not still lost. She found you again.
Oh, I've been found. Wait. Who took me? Wendigo or the Bigfoot? Weren't we going for a walkabout?
You know, it was probably the Wendigo. Walk. They're notorious for, at least it wasn't the Stick Indians, because, you know, if you're an adult and they get a hold of you, they eat you.
Well, that's kind of getting a little bit kind of like that. And I guess in a little bit, Slender Man might be put in there as well. I don't typically, Terry, but I have on a couple occasions gone out with some of the natives on the reservations in northern central Ontario, and them going through the wooded areas and just showing things, what they see, what they believe could be a possibility of a Bigfoot, Sasquatch in the area, or maybe a Wendigo or Skinwalker, because they believe that Bigfoot, Sasquatch could be a form of Skinwalker. And that's why maybe it's so easily undetected.
I can't remember who it was the other day. Somebody actually came they threw the theory at me, and I had to laugh about it. But then I thought, huh, you know, there's some validity in this about the fact that all cameras and stuff are actually working fine. Bigfoot himself is blurry.
Well, not that, about the sweep shit.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you never know. Maybe he's phase shifting. Who knows? Like, seriously, like, because a lot of them, they seem to be.
Basically, here's a good question for you.
Basically, Skinwalker is saying that through the natives, that they are having the ability to be a human and then go four-legged as an animal. Usually the most common is being a coyote or a wolf. So that type of shifting, but not like, you know, not like a werewolf. Okay. Yes, I've heard of the Skinwalker Ranch, and if you guys want to know a little bit more, I did speak about that on a video on my channel. And if you look at it, it's about skinwalkers, and I did tell the story about the Skinwalker Ranch, from original people owning it coming up to, you know, as the ranch itself. And still today, there are people that go investigate that place, and some of they don't stay very long. They're out of there because there's things they see that just freaks the hell out of them, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard the exact same thing. You go out there. Well, the people that actually own the place, I guess, and they're the ranch hands that work around there and stuff. When they do take people out hunting, they're always armed.
Well, yeah, and even the ranch hands, they barely want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is a big story about all that. You can look it up if you haven't, or hey, go listen to my old video that I did on skinwalkers.
Let's see here. What else? I think it was Shapeshifter, Skinwalker. See if I missed any questions up here.
Just scrolling back, I haven't seen anything else,
but yeah, getting back to what Paul asked just a little bit ago.
okay.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that footprint photo that you sent me. It's I mean, it's clear. It looked somewhat distorted on the arch, but you can tell by the positioning of the toes and stuff like that that it's not like a human print that somebody had made and then lifted their toes and drug their heel to make the foot look longer. I mean, the toes and the way the toes are positioned and the length of the toes and the length of the footprint itself it's very, very clearly not an easily man-made. Now, the one thing that always got me were the people that made the wooden footprints, and they would put them on the bottom of their shoes and walk around. But once again, logically speaking, anybody who's done this for a while, they're not going to take a 14-inch long foot and have a 4-foot stride.
No, they're not.
I mean, you're going to have a 6 or 7 foot stride to have a foot that's this big. So, I mean, it's just, that's like crop circles.
Yeah,
how
they're being done.
And I know Canada's had their share of those, the same as America has and England has, and everything else.
Let's drop who from when they took it over and who's actually holding the Skinwalker Ranch currently. They're in chat. So, Brendan Fugel.
Oh, is Brandon? Does Brandon own it now?
Well, that's what it's still stating for what I'm. The way I research for where I look, I don't always trust Wikipedia. So I do a few other places, this and that, and that's what I know right now is who actually owns it. There's nothing else that's been said. Anybody else to own it now? Maybe there could be somebody brand new. I'm not sure.
Well, that's a very creative name for the holding company. Adamantium Holdings.
Yep.
Wow. Let me see here. Does anybody else have any questions for Dev? I mean, I know we've touched on a few things tonight, and due to him having his stream earlier, wasn't able to start at 7, which is good because I like going to that 9 o'clock hour. But I'm sure since he's been streaming since 6:30, he'd probably like to get a bite to eat sometime here real soon.
I've already eaten.
Have you really? I haven't.
I've been home since about 5 o'clock. I already had food. All I had to do was heat it up in the microwave, and I just ate it. Was leftovers from our special luncheon at work Thursday. We do this once a month. We like right now what we're doing is with the money that we collect from selling some cardboard boxes that we get in that we don't use for anything, we sell them back out to the public. They're double corrugated, a certain weird size, and people buy them. And with that money that we collect from, we keep it as a kitty. And every month we have a lunch with the 6 or 8 of us that work in our area. And right now we're doing tour of the world. So we just had Lebanese food Thursday. So
I've never had Lebanese.
It's kind of similar to, you know, a few other countries with, you know, kebabs and, you know, falafel and rice and shawarma type ideas. So, you know, it just depends on what you pick. Because we were looking at one restaurant, and we were looking at go, well, if we really want to feed, I think it was 6 of us that day, we're going to be spending $150 easily. And it's like, but we're not getting that much. It's like, okay, you got 2 skewers of chicken, you got 2 for beef, and 1 what is it called? Shushka. It's like it's like a ground beef. I forget the proper name. I call it something else, and I forgot now because I've heard it and similar to other things, you know, due to European heritage that I have too. But that's okay.
I've always wanted to try shawarma.
It's really good.
I think it looks so good sitting up there upright, just slowly turning, and you know they're just cutting it off there. It's kind of like when I actually have a chance to do a sirloin tip roast.
Kentucky Grill, I believe you're thinking of Bobby Mackey's.
Onto the bar here in Kentucky, it's Bobby Mackey's.
Yeah.
You know, and I've heard a lot of mixed stuff about Bobby Mackey's. I've heard of some people going out there and spending the money to do an investigation there, and some people saying they didn't get a bloody damn thing the whole time they were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard of people going there and say that the women in their team were scared shitless and running back to the car 20 minutes into the investigation. So I guess it all depends on the individual and the team that goes in there, which is like that at pretty much all investigations.
Yeah, like who's the most sensitive, or, you know, I'll put it on the other foot a little bit. Who's either the most skeptical or most afraid? So, you know, I've heard guys go in there and they said they would never go back ever again because they got that weirded out from it, or got scared, or they got scratched, and I've heard some people, they said they've gone and then nothing, and then 2 weeks later they got problems going on at their home. It's like, okay, did something follow me home instead, or what? Like, you know, so it varies from individual to individual. And in the last couple of weeks, I've seen some people go and they're not getting anything. They're not getting even, you know, a bump on the EMF detector, temperature, or, you know, fluctuation at all. So, you know, some, you know, they get some weird EVPs, sometimes nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because too many people are going, and whatever spirits or entities are there are just kind of pissed off and say, you know what? We're not going to put on a show tonight. Screw you.
Mm-hmm.
You put on the show for us. We're just going to sit here and watch. You know what I mean? Like, it happens. Like, I can tell you, like,
please go on.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we were talking about the different locations up here. I found out the other day, guys. My wife was telling me that she was looking through some of our streaming channels, and she found a new paranormal show that was at the Conjuring House, the original Conjuring House. And I told her, you know, I heard they weren't doing anything else there, that the people had it up for sale. Well, I guess the people that bought it are paranormal investigators. And they bought the entire place, all the acreage, everything. And
this is recently?
Yes, from what I understand, and I guess it's $125 a night per person, or flat rate $750 for 6 people to go in there for one night. Now on the weekends, it's that flat rate $750 and $125 each additional person. But they are back to doing the reservation thing for overnight investigations in the original conjuring house again. It was not being, it did get sold, but it got sold to paranormal investigators.
Well,
so
because the last I heard that the people who had it up on sale, that he and his wife and one of his friends are actually paranormal investigators. And that eventually, because whatever reason, that they just decided to put it up for sale, because they've actually gone on other investigations to other houses and locations that are haunted with Exploring with Josh. So, like this dynamic is like, okay, well, as soon as you say, well, paranormal investigators, like, well, wait a second, the owners that had it were kind of paranormal investigators from what they've done and what they've said. So I don't know. Hey, if it's new paranormal investigators, great to see, how they run it. I feel sometimes that, okay, you got it. You want to do these things and let other people come in, let them witness it for themselves, but how often should you do it? How much do the spirits, or entities that are there getting pissed off with lots of people? Like, as Beth is saying, there is like, several people, that are there and they're kind of pissed off, or they don't want, to be bothered. And at what point do these entities and spirits like, okay, you're doing it so much, you know what? We're just not going to do anything anymore. We're done. And then it just goes, so mellow that nothing happens anymore. Or, that could be the worst part. They start attacking people, scratching them, pushing them. I mean, when that stuff happens, how do you explain it? It's like, is it an angry spirit, or is it really something cryptid and demonic?
Yeah. Yep. And see, that's one of the main reasons that the wife, especially after the whole blood clot thing, she asked me that when we do these large investigations where there has been a lot of reported activity and stuff, that she wants me to kind of ease back and not head the investigations anymore, to do a lot more behind the scenes, still do my videos and appear.
Yeah.
But, spend more time at home base, monitoring the computer and the cameras and things like that, because she's a wife. She's concerned about my health, and she knows that last year was the first year I've ever physically been attacked. And, now that more things have happened, she doesn't want anything to happen to me. So I guess I can appreciate that, at least until I'm back to, 100% again.
Yeah.
Then I'll be that dumbass that runs in there with a sword in one hand and a buckler in the other, going, "Come on, bring it on, boys. Daddy's waiting." Oh.
Yeah.
So do we have any more questions for this dude? Like this.
Hey, it doesn't have to be on Bigfoot. If you got some other questions, hey, go ahead, shoot them. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm having a complete open mind here, so
feel more than welcome to ask him what type of fertilizer he uses on his daffodils that makes them so pretty.
Actually, I go tiptoeing through the tulips.
I've been
Tiny Tim.
I've been into some tulips too in my life.
Yeah, the fleshy kind, right?
Cowboy John, bring it on.
Hey, Cowboy John. Bring it on. I got my 6-shooter right here on my hip. I'm ready. I'll see ya high noon, Pilgrim.
Let's see here. They feel like a sideshow. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to any scary places?
Well, I'd consider this one probably the scariest, and kind of one that really that sticks out to me. And there's other people that can tell you stories too, not just me. But in the city of Toronto, more of the downtown core, there is a steakhouse, which our franchise known as the Keg. Now, it is a very, very old mansion. The mansion's been there for a very long time. A few different owners before it became a restaurant steakhouse. Myself, a group of friends, we were there. We decided to, go to the other floor where the washrooms are. So me and my buddy, we go in. As I walk out, I see this guy go back in. A few seconds later, comes back out. But when he comes back out, I kind of notice a little bit more what he's wearing. And it's not regular attire you see today. It's somebody seems more old-fashioned, a little prim and proper. And, see him walk past me and disappear down the stairs. So I'm waiting a little bit for, my friend to come out. And he comes out and he says to me, he goes, "Oh, did you see that guy that just came out of the washroom?" I said, "Yeah, he just went down the stairs. Why?" I go, "He's dressed a little weird." He goes, "I just had a conversation at the urinal with him, but the conversation wasn't like something you would say today." So we kind of let it go. But when we talked to our waiter said that gentleman with what we described had died in that place somewhere in the 18th century.
Wow.
There is a lady who died in the same mansion, this Keg Steakhouse mansion, that hung herself from the chandelier in the stairwell that leads you to the washrooms. And sometimes you can see her hanging there, or you see the noose. You will see sometimes her walking across the main walkway platform or landing, and then all of a sudden either descend the stairs or she's climbing up onto the rafters getting ready to hang herself. I forget the full story, but there is a story for it. And the staff, when they go to close down at night, they say sometimes on other floors they're turning out lights to rooms. When they get to the door to lock up, lights start coming back on again. They're not supposed to. They're not, any, nighttime lights that are on timers or anything like that. So, all right, you take care, JJ. So that has been the most freakiest, scariest. Other than that, not really anything that's really kind of thrown me. But then most of the stuff, like I said, that I have done that have been kind of freakier, maybe, were never recorded because I didn't think, take some type of recording device. We didn't have the cell phones like we used to back in the day. We didn't have the cameras like we do now that are so compact. You had these big, huge, honking, V8 camera, super V8 cameras that that seemed like you were carrying like a big ghetto blaster radio just to try to film something. And then you film for whatever, and then you got this little tiny reel of tape that you're trying to put on a projector to put up on a screen so you can see it, right? It's kind of like the original phones that everybody had with the big brick phone and then the big briefcase shoulder strap thing that you had to carry around with you that weighed like 30 pounds.
Yep. The one with the 25-pound battery and the 2-pound phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we had them here, and I know exactly what you're talking about with the great big VHS cameras and stuff because, Mom and Dad had to have one when they came out, and they hated that. As soon as we were able to get a digital camera, my dad threw that thing in the garbage and bought this little teeny tiny camera about this big with the screen that popped out.
Yeah. Well, before, the VHS beta type cameras, there was a Super 8, and you had to take it in to, get it developed, just like you would a photo at a photo store, and then finally get it back. And, my grandfather had that all over. He filmed everything, but just to, that in the mansion, it was like, that's the most frequent because it's you had an interaction with something that was full operation and nobody else saw it. Just myself, my friend, and then we hear stories from our waiter telling us that what we saw was real.
Wow.
And how else can you explain something? It's like, okay, you see it, you witness. Like, I nodded at the man. The man nodded back. Like, that's the most freakiest, that comes to the top of my mind, that always will be there to, and just to, think about, even if as I'm trying to tell a story, and, thinking of what details that I remember and everything of, and to do it is like, wow. And, talk to, I don't know where he is now, that friend, but back then, when we talked about it later on, like a couple weeks later, it's like, we go, what do we really see? I go, well, it's that type of ghost, but like, he goes, can't have been. He goes, it looked like a person, like a real person standing there, right there in front of us. And I was talking to him, having a conversation.
So you're no ghost.
So I'm going, it's like, okay. And even the women's washroom, like, women have said they've seen the lady. I think she's in a white gown. I could be wrong, but they've said they've seen her, leave the washroom and go out to, the railings and climb up on the railings to get ready to hang herself or jump. And you hear
Wow.
sometimes every once in a while when people see her, they scream, and it's like because they can't believe what they're seeing. I mean, there's other buildings like that that's throughout the city of Toronto, that has a lot of stories about people who've passed away and they've seen them, walk in the halls. We have an old courthouse, which used to be our city hall, and it's got stories unbelievable. But it's just so difficult to do anything because it's a courthouse after all.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. So how about places that you've gone to investigate that's just there was nothing to them? I mean, you were bored. They didn't live up to the hype. They didn't live up to the stories.
yeah, was a couple of barns that were like that. They're saying, oh, there was activity in the barns, and it's like you go and it's like they say you're guaranteed to be scratched. It's like, so I've gone. It's like, okay, not that I provoked anything, because I rather not. But then sometimes nothing's happening. You're going, should I try to provoke just to see what would happen? But then it's like, do I really want to be scratched if this is right? And just, okay, I'll leave it. Nothing. Everybody that I was with, nothing happened. We didn't even hear a boo. We didn't hear a creak from the woodwork structure of the barn. It's like, so, okay, why is it so quiet? And that was it. That was the only thing that really we got out of the place that was just too quiet. Didn't hear crickets. You didn't hear any other night creatures roaming around. We thought, hey, there's an open side of the barn. How come there's no mice in here? But other than that, it was nothing. A couple barns, they were so hyped up that people say there were things happening or things that were going to happen to you, um, even if you don't provoke, that it'll happen to you. It's like you go and just nothing. Maybe it was just the luck of the day for me. I don't know.
Wow. I don't know. I think the silence would be even more eerie than a large amount of activity, only because everybody at one point in time has been in an old barn. You've got mice, you've got rats, you've got owls, you have just average birds that nest in the rafters and stuff. You got raccoons and possums, and there's always something to make a flutter, to make a noise, to do, and especially no crickets. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that's the thing. And some of our, older buildings that are further north in different farmlands, they're now being inhabited by a lot of vultures.
Really?
So, if you know what a vulture sounds like, a grown vulture, the type of sounds they make, when you're going in there and you come near their nest and the babies are there, the babies are even louder. And sometimes I compare it to kind of like a chainsaw type sound because it just keeps rattling that kind of noise. It's not as high pitched or anything, but it's a little bit lower. And they just, let off that sound, then all of a sudden they're just quiet because they're watching you. And if you get too close, they start to try to walk away, the young, but the adults you have to watch out for because they will attack you. Not that they're coming with their beaks or their talons, that they use their wings to try to clap you. And then I guess maybe they, try to scratch your eyes out or whatever. But I never, wanted to get in that close to experience what they do.
Yeah. It would be worse. Scratch. Complete silence tells you something is around.
Oh, something.
Yeah, but it's the silence of it not letting you know where around. That would just be, eerie in itself. I mean, that would be the kind of places right there that would actually make my stomach turn. And you guys know I don't get scared of much. I'm all for going in and provoking if I have to. Come on, don't be so weak. Don't be a coward. You're already dead. What can we do to you?
Drew went in with guns drawn and blazing.
Yeah, I don't care. That's probably why the wife's forbid me from doing it for a while, because she knows I'm retarded like that. But
I didn't say it.
I know, but I did. I have absolutely no problem saying it. I mean, she'll come straight up and say, "Listen, don't be stupid, okay? You have problems with your health. Don't be a retard all your life. Just go ahead and just do what I ask you." And
oh, but come on, Ma, it's not fun if I don't try to do something.
Yes, dear.
Wait.
So
here, so she can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. But and this is where the problem lays. Though my wife don't watch every single video I put on the channel, she does watch all the investigations that I do, because she has to sit there and explain to Grandma, since she can't see nor hear very well, what we're doing and where we're at and everything else. Because Grandma, 83 years old, she dies for my investigations. She gets more excited when she sees me carrying my gear into the kitchen to put on the table than I get for a lot of investigations. And the whole next day when I'm editing, is it done yet? Are we going to get to watch it tonight? Did you get a lot of stuff? Did you see anything? Did you hear it? Let me get the editing done and I'll tell you. So, but all right, guys, do we have any more questions for Dev? I need to go spend a little time with that crazy woman before she goes to bed. It's already 9:30 here. I think Dev's got the same time up there. We are. Any more questions for him before I cut him loose and end this stream?
Cut me loose. Oh, jeez.
Give everybody a chance to type. I mean, it is kind of late for some of them, so the fingers probably aren't working that well.
Yeah, and I know YouTube has a delay tonight too.
Then again, nobody can be as slow a typer as I am. I use like 4 fingers to type with, so.
Sometimes I just use one.
I do too. Well, yeah, everybody knows I'm a technotard. So, we'll see. Doggone, YouTube is busy tonight, though. I've had to wipe 20 videos off the top of the screen.
Yeah, but kind of agree with a little bit. It's like, you're letting him loose. Oh, we're in trouble now.
That's how it is.
Never know.
But all right, guys, I'm going to end this. Dev, man, I'll tell you what. This was fun. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do it. I know it's been a big competition between me and Tommy, who's going to have you first. I know Tommy was in here earlier, so now I get to say, I won.
As we're kind of joking around a little bit here and there. It's like, we kind of, in a way, Tommy and I kind of owe each other a beer in a way. And then he said, "Oh, where's my beer?" And I said, well, you know what? I said, I already drank it. It's in my belly. He goes, you bastard, right? Well, he used other words, but then, he said something. And then I said, well, the worst it could have been, I could have drank the whole case. I said, and I could have just left you the caps so you could sniff them. He goes, oh, you're a cheeky little bugger, aren't you? It's like, but I like it.
I don't think you'd be able to handle good Canadian beer anyway.
Oh, well, maybe we should just go for the heavy stuff. Molson's Canadian. And still,
I'm used to good Scottish
5%.
beer, so I'll stomach me some Canadian beer. Matter of fact, I've had plenty of Canadian beer, so we didn't pick up everything at the duty free on the bridge going from Detroit into Windsor. We picked up some beer and stuff when we was in Ontario.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. I like it. It's been a long time.
I mean, I don't personally drink that. Like right now, I'm on this Belgian Moon kind of kick. It's more of an orange citrus aftertaste to it.
So never had a citrusy beer.
And my favorite, white wheat ale from Belgium is Hoegaarden. It's cloudy, and when they pour it, there's a good amount of head, but it's cloudy, and it's a white wheat ale, and it's light as can be. If it comes from the tap, oh my god, you could just pound it back like water.
Wow! That sounds like my Belhaven.
Okay, like a big tall glass, and it's thick. Sometimes the larger one that you get, you literally have to hold it with two hands just so you can drink it properly.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like my Belhaven from Scotland that I like to drink.
Yeah. I don't know. See, we have Beer Fest here, and we get things from from over there. I just can't remember if I've seen that one.
Belhaven is it's a dark ale, and it's got the blue and white Scottish St. Andrew's cross flag on it, and then Belhaven's right underneath the flag in black lettering.
Yeah, maybe.
It's good beer. Oh. And it's expensive beer here. I can't, I'm sure it's a lot cheaper in UK territory, but it's expensive here, like $7-8 a bottle, or $100. Well, 6 years ago it was $150 a pony keg. So they're proud of their beer. Mm-hmm. But all right, guys, I see everybody saying good night. Numbers are starting to drop. Everybody's like, I don't drink beer. Quit talking about beer, you pecker. So
they want wine or something else, but that's okay.
Yeah, wine, whiskey.
It's a pleasure, Drew. And hey, I'm sure somewhere down the road we'll be doing this again for something.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We'll do it again sometime soon.
Thanks to everybody that came on out and showed your support. And hey, by all means, hit that subscribe button down there for this man, eh? He's not just doing it just for, shits and giggles.
Yeah, I kind of do.
I know. I just had to say it.
I know. But all right, guys, that's it. Be looking tomorrow for my video on the Stick Indians. But until then, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. We'll catch y'all Monday morning for morning coffee and chat.
And I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Amen to that, brother. We'll talk to y'all later.